Okay, welcome to a basic lesson about absolute value, or what I like to call the goal of therapy is to make you happy. And I would like to apologize ahead of time to anyone who's offended by that. But I do understand that therapy does not always make you happy, but the goal of therapy is to make you happy. So I look at absolute value like therapy for numbers, because when numbers are in therapy, they are happy. So as opposed to unhappy, which is negative. So if I already have a positive number, like 5, and I take the absolute value of 5, it doesn't change anything. It still stays 5. But if I have a negative number, like, I don't know, -2, and I put an absolute value on it, then it stays +2. Now, I understand the actual definition is the distance a number is from 0, and that's why we take the absolute value. But for my purposes, we just want to make the numbers happy. That's just, put it there, makes it happy. Now, when we start putting this into equations, it starts getting a little more complicated. And so we're going to look at what happens and what some of the rules are for that. So we're going to take it one step further. So I'm going to cover up as I go. So if I have 5r, I can do it as is, pretend the absolute value is not there, and just divide both sides by 5. And this is your basic algebra, and so r equals 3. There's one of my answers, but I could also have a -5 or a -15 in here, which the absolute value of -15 is still +15. So I'm going to say that 5r equals -15. Same thing, divide both sides by 5, and I get a -3. The same thing happens if I have a negative inside. I know that in order to make this 22, I divide both sides by -2, and x equals -11, and -2x equals -22, divide by -2, x equals +11. You're going to notice that my two answers are the positive or negative of the same number, and that's just because this is really the simple parts. So we're going to do a few more examples just so we can look at what happens. So when it's division, you know I multiply. So I'm going to multiply 5 times, I'm going to multiply by 7. And so my answer is n equals 35, but it's the positive or negative of 35. And then now it's where it gets a little more complicated. If I'm adding a number, again, I'm going to treat it like it's here. So I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. So I have p equals -1. Now I know this is where people freak out because they're like, no, but absolute value is positive. How can my answer be negative? Well, remember, when you put it in here, it's still positive, and it could still be negative in here, but we want all our numbers to be happy. So even though it's negative, it's going through therapy, so we're making it happy. So then I'm going to change this. I leave the absolute value the same, and it's equal to the negative. Subtract 8 from both sides. P equals -15. Yeah, both these answers are negative, but when I take the absolute value of them, they'll be positive because I'll get a positive and a -7 in here. Last one for this. If I have plus, I can add 3 to both sides. W equals 15. And then W minus 3 equals -12. Add 3 to both sides. And W equals -9. Both these answers are valid. You'll notice also with absolute value you get 2 answers generally. There will be times when you only get 1 answer, but most of the time you're going to get 2. And in what we're doing right now, we're going to always get 2, except I have one exception in my examples. Ooh, preview. So for this, I have -W, right? I'm going to subtract 3, and I get -W equals +9. So positive W equals -9. There's one answer. And then 3 minus W equals -12. I'm going to again subtract 3 from both sides, and W equals -15. Seems kind of redundant. It is. It's the same. Now, what if it's on the outside, though? So if it's on the outside, first let's just take care of that. So I'm going to divide both sides by 7, and I have the absolute value of x equals 3. And I know then that x equals plus or minus 3. Which made it look super, super easy. So deal with what's happening on the outside. I divided both sides by 7 first and then did it. Same thing here. I'm going to multiply both sides by 6. So the absolute value of n equals 36. Oops, I left too much space. So n equals positive or negative 36. Because that goes in there. Again, basics, we'll do a little harder problems. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 3. So p equals negative 4. But remember, it's the absolute value of p equals negative 4. Now remember, our numbers can never be negative. So I just want to state no solution. If an absolute value equals a negative number, it cannot. No solution. Sorry, not going to work. There's your answer. Absolute value, no solution, doesn't work. If you look at the graph of that number, it wouldn't be touching the x-axis, which is really what we're looking at here. But that's beyond the scope of what we're doing. Again, minus 4, absolute value of m equals, subtract 4 from both sides, equals 4. M equals plus or minus, let's rewrite that, m equals plus or minus 4. So, cannot equal negative. Everything else works out. And it happens. These are exercises, so they try to make them come out nicely. I wanted to make sure I put one in there that didn't come out nicely because you're going to encounter that. So make sure you're ready. All right, cover that one up. I'm going to multiply by 7 first. So absolute value of a minus 3 equals 35. Add 3 to both sides. A equals 38. Got to make it equal to the negative. So add 3 to both sides. A equals negative 32. Blah! Too much thinking. Alright, and the last one, I'm going to multiply both sides by 3. So negative 9 plus b, I'm going to keep the absolute value on there for now, equals 21. So I'm going to add 9 to both sides. V equals 30. I'm going to write that over again and set it equal to the negative. Add 9 to both sides. I know sometimes I write it, sometimes I don't. And negative 12. And I always box my answers so I know that they're there. Alright, so remember, absolute value is always positive. Absolutely, positively. It's an expression. Know that it is always positive. Alright, my name is Amy, and this has been a Math Yak.